What in tarnation?
Hello folks, this is Apple Geek, and what a beautiful day it is for a new episode of My Little Pony. Just a quick note about last week's reaction before I get into this. It was pointed out to me by at least a couple different people. Again, I haven't really kept close watch on comments, but I have seen one or two. It is pointed out that after I made the observation that the progression of the disease turning into the tree basically equaled death, it was maybe rather morbid for me to be then sitting there and wishing Fluttershy was turning into a tree. I'm sure you guys were just kind of poking at me in fun about that, and you weren't thinking I was serious about that, but just to be very clear, I absolutely did not want any harm to come to Fluttershy whatsoever, especially that. That was not my mind at all. It's just I knew that with a show like this, you're not going to end an episode with, you know, any significant harm coming to that character. I knew that she was going to be cured one way or the other. Therefore, I just thought it would have been, you know, very convenient to finally completely fulfill this whole Fluttershy as a tree meme, you know, in canon. So that's the only thing that was going through my mind there. I didn't want any harm to come to her at all. It just would have been a funny thing, I felt like. So anyway, whatever the case, hopefully none of you out there actually took me all that seriously on that. So. But anyway, enough about that. On to today's episode, which I know basically nothing about, once again. So, yeah, without any further ado, let's get to this. I've just been told that I am going to like this episode by some friends, so I didn't expect to not like it. So, we'll see. Episode 21, starting now. Who the heck is...
Okay,
wait, that's the CMC Clubhouse. CMC episode!
Kettle Corn?
Kettle Corn?
Well, that certainly is... round. I can make it rounder. I'm
More
afraid that's all the
Phillies.
time we have today. We'll try something else tomorrow. But I like circle painting.
Of
And
course
on the way to figuring out what you're meant to do,
They're helping her
you'll
with the
find
cutie
a
mark.
ton more stuff you like. That's what makes looking for your cutie mark so great. Mm-hmm.
Sweetie Belle with that clipboard is awesome. She's really taken after Rarity. Or maybe Twilight, I don't
Sorry,
know.
Abby Pony. We're closing up shop.
Aw.
We'd like to help y'all tomorrow.
What about Pipsqueak? That's a whole bunch of new, like,
I don't know if we can
Philly
help
and Colt
them
designs
tomorrow.
there.
Working with blanks one at a time takes forever. If only there was a way we could help
Why
the
did you
whole
use that
lot of
term?
them at once. That would be perfect. We'd save time and they could help each other. Just like we used to. Oh, but it'd have to be somewhere big enough to handle all those blanks. Somewhere outside. With
Why are
tons
we
of
using that
activities
term?
to try. Are you two thinking what I'm thinking? Cutie Mark Day Camp! And I know
No.
just the place. Applejack used to go there with
I forgot about that.
little Camp Friendship! Oh,
Camp
sorry.
Friendship?
I thought we were all gonna yell that one too.
Oh, is that... Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Two callbacks there. The Cutie Mark Day Camp thing, that was... What? That was mentioned in a recent episode. Trying to blank on which one. But anyway, that and then the Camp Friendship, that was back in the main attraction, wasn't it? When Applejack was at camp with Coloratura. Wow. Season of callbacks continues. Oh, this is going to be good. But why are we calling them blank flanks? That used to be a major insult. I mean, hopefully they explain this. What's the title of this? Nice balloons. Yes.
National Flanks and Flank affiliates. Come to our Cutie Mark Day Camp to find out what you're truly good at. Bond with other Flanks and find out what you're meant to do together.
Marks and Recreation. What? Wait.
Hey, Rumble.
Parks and Recreation
Hey,
spoof?
Crusaders. Look, I can't stop. Gotta meet my brother for something.
No problem. Just wanted to make sure you heard about our Cutie Mark Day Camp. The first session's tomorrow.
What's his... Oh, what?
What you got there, little brother?
That did...
Oh, nothing. Come on. I want to show you a new dive roll I'm trying.
Come on. Cutie Mark Day Camp is for blank.
I'm drawing a blank on what
of all
Thunderlane's
kinds.
brother's name is.
Welcome, Cutie
Aw.
Mark campers.
That's camp friendship.
Excited to be here?
These family designs are awesome.
Excited too. At Cutie Mark Day Camp, you'll be able to try all kinds of things. Kayaking, horseshoe tossing, circle painting. You can try them all, but the most important thing is that you'll be trying them together.
Somebody
That's
likes
what
circle
works for us.
sighting.
Then I bet it'll work for these little guys too.
Oh, Wonderbolt
Thought you said
uniform.
we were gonna go practice for the Wonderbolt's Ponyville Extravaganza show.
Ooh.
I'm going to Wonderbolt practice. You're going to Cutie Mark practice.
And we're glad to have you.
Aw.
I can't believe your own brother is a Wonderbolt. Rainbow Dash is practically my sister, and she's a Wonderbolt too.
Old news.
I know she'll be mad if I'm late. Now you have a good time and try some stuff. Who knows what you'll be good at?
All right. Looks like we found the first activity of the day, the horseshoe toss.
There you go. So what is
Like to
his
stay and play, but it's time
issue?
to fly. Have fun.
I didn't even remember that
Come on,
Thunderlane was
Rumble.
one of the
Step on
Wonderbolts,
up
but
and show us how it's done. No way he's as good as his brother.
Whoops. Oh, I guess I won't be getting my cutie mark in the horseshoe toss.
Don't worry about
Okay,
it. Rumble.
rather
Any
apathetic
pony
here.
finds falling on the first try.
I wasn't worried.
Good, because there's a ton of other stuff to try. We'll find you something you're good at.
what is his issue? He just doesn't care for some reason. But why?
Whoopsie.
Dance class.
Whoops.
That pose! Why?
The first and last lines have 5 syllables, but the middle has 7.
Haikus?
It's called a haiku.
Nice.
Whoops. I've tried it all. Time to tell my brother this camp isn't for me.
Come on, Rumble. Isn't it fun just trying stuff?
Not really.
I don't think we've ever seen a pony so disinterested in finding a cutie mark.
Haiku, cutie, mark. And I
Wow.
never would have tried without Skedaddle. That's what
Aw.
Cutie Mark Day Camp is all about. Working together and helping
I saw that
each other.
blush.
But I can still come back, right? And maybe paint some circles? Of course.
Sure,
Let's
why
all
not?
be right back here tomorrow. Wow. I can't believe we got a cutie mark on the first day. Yep.
That was
This
impressive.
camp was a pretty swell idea. Every pony's really enjoyed it. Every pony except Rumble. He didn't have
Rumble.
much luck with
That was his
anything.
name.
Trying to find out what you're meant to do can be frustrating. You remember how long it took us to get our cutie marks?
Yes, we remember.
I remember the nightmares. I can't let Rumble quit camp just because he didn't find something he's
The
good at.
literal
We'll
nightmares.
just have to convince him to come back and try harder. Mm-hmm.
In case you haven't noticed, he isn't trying at all. It's not a matter of trying harder. He just needs to try, period.
Hey, Rumble.
What are you all doing here?
We just wanted to apologize for not finding anything you liked today.
Oh, whatever. It's fine.
It's not fun. It's frustrating, and we know what it's like.
I'm not frustrated.
It's okay. We've all been there, but we won't give up on helping you. We know you'll get your cutie mark. Every pony does.
Actually, I don't need your help because I don't want to get my cutie mark.
What?
Those faces.
I must
Artwork.
have hay in my ears because I thought I just heard Rumble say.
You heard right. I don't want my cutie mark.
Well, at least he admits it.
breathe. Every pony wants to know what they're meant
Interesting
to do.
analogy.
Not this pony.
Why?
Because cutie marks are silly, and they just force you into one thing your whole life.
That's silly. Having a cutie mark doesn't mean you can't do other things. Yeah.
Indeed.
Cutie marks aren't helping ponies with their cutie marks, but I still like making potions with Zecora.
And when was the last time you did that?
I think it was...
Last season.
Well, we've been pretty busy helping other ponies lately.
Oh, you mean doing the thing you got your cutie mark for? The thing you're stuck doing for the rest of your life?
Oh.
Okay, maybe we will be doing that more than anything else.
Oh.
But we love being cutie
But
mark
yeah,
crusaders.
it's the
Well,
thing
that's
that you're
fine
the
for
thing you love.
But I'm not gonna be put in a box.
A blank flank who doesn't want a cutie
Wow.
mark? That's gotta be the strangest thing I've ever
This is a
heard.
deep
Granny
thing
always
here.
says some ponies have to find their own hay. Are you sure she didn't mean find their own way? That would make more sense. I can't believe Rumble isn't interested in getting his cutie mark either, but we can't force him. And we've got a whole
No.
camp full of ponies who are interested in cutie marks.
This is kind of going back to the whole Diamond Tiara issue, but taking it a little further about, being locked into one thing.
Here he comes. The fastest, most elite flyer in Equestria.
Somebody's dreaming big.
I was gonna say me. You're not the only Pegasus in the family, you know.
Oh, sorry, little brother. You're right. You might be the most elite flyer in Equestria someday, but for now, you should try other things too. Speaking of which, aren't you supposed to be at camp?
That camp is for losers who can't do anything.
Great. So there's no
Oh.
pressure. You can try everything and not be
That was
worried
low.
about looking bad.
I'm not worried about that. I just don't want to get a cutie mark in any of their ridiculous activities.
Well, you're still going back tomorrow. You can't be a blank flank forever.
Or can I? So I can understand he doesn't want to get a cutie mark at any of the things they're trying, because they don't interest him.
But this is fun, and I didn't get my cutie mark yet. What if I'm not good at anything else?
Oh.
You don't get a cutie mark just because you're
He
good
sounds
at something,
older.
or even because you like it. There's more to it than that. I'm real good at painting circles, but I got my cutie mark in haikus.
Which is
What
what,
is-
I like. But I'm still a blank flank like you.
What's with the
So,
circles?
you can't get a cutie mark in something you like?
Now, we didn't say that.
You don't have to.
You just gotta figure out something that you don't know you like yet.
Say bye-bye to painting circles. You'll be too busy haikuing from now on.
Oh.
I like circles. Come on, Rumble. That's not how cutie marks work.
So, that's how cutie marks work?
Am I speaking
She
to old
just
opponents?
said-
I just said it wasn't.
Cutie marks are great.
A
they
song?
say. Yeah, right. They make you special in your way. But that special mark that's just for you really
I did
raise
not
the
expect
stuff
this.
you like to do.
So, no more painting? No more haiku? Rumble, stop. That's just not true.
So you're good at charming snakes.
Okay.
Or you bake delicious cakes. Oh well. Maybe there are lots of things that you like to do. Well, you ought to get pretty stark once you got that cutie mark. Blank flanks are better. No pony to tell you who you have to be. Blank flanks are better. Keep your spirit soaring free. So listen up, cause I ain't lying. Don't need no mark, so why keep trying? If you like just being
I really like this song, but
then keeping that blank
trying to figure out where this is gonna go.
To do.
Cutie marks don't limit you. They only show you what you can do.
But what if you can't do a thing? These cutie marks are frustrating.
You say there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, exactly.
A blank flank is the way for you. It's no work to just be who you are. No hunt to be some cutie star. You're perfect just being you. Don't bother with what you cannot do. Blank flanks are better. No pony to tell you who you have to be. Blank flanks are better. Keep your spirits just being you. Then keeping that blank is the thing to do. That's it, blank blanks. Be proud of who you are. You don't need some phony.
I'm definitely gonna have things to talk about once this episode is over.
Blank blanks forever. Blank blanks. Whoopee!
Now, wait just an apple-picking minute, Rumble. Where do you think you're leading our campers?
They're not your campers anymore. I'm starting a new camp. Every pony on this side of the line is in Camp Blank Flanks forever.
A line has been drawn.
Blank flank forever?
That's just the kind of talk I'd expect to hear from Camp Cutie Mark, which is why Blank Flanks need a camp where we can enjoy being Blank Flanks and appreciate our blank flankiness without feeling pressure to get a cutie mark.
Flankiness? What's that?
Now, hold on, every pony.
Blank Flanks forever!
Blank flanks forever! Blank
This is like one of the CMC's worst nightmares.
What just happened? Has
Yeah.
every pony gone mad? In a word, yes.
Yes. They're gonna start getting their cutie
I
marks,
just
and
can't see
Rumble's
what we
gonna
did
go
wrong.
nuts because of
I
it,
thought
maybe?
Every pony was having fun. They were until that Rumble came and made a mess of things. What are they doing now? It
How many
looks
new cutie
like
marks are we gonna see this
whatever
episode?
They want. Honestly,
Dude,
it's
mostly
not that different from
the
what they
same
were doing
things.
here. What was the point?
Exactly.
Point is that Rumble is a mad pony who must be stopped. Now calm down, Crusaders.
Wow.
You just need to talk to him again.
Come on, Scootaloo, tell us how you really feel.
Remain calm. Cutie marks make you special.
Special little box!
Special.
Box!
Come on, Sweetie Belle.
Wow.
I think you remain calm long enough. Kettle Corn, you covered your cutie mark?
Yep.
Blank flank again, keeping my options open. I'm more than haikus. You just haiku.
Don't let them get in your head. You're an open-ended question. Blank Flanks forever!
Blank flank forever.
We've got another pony talking kind of like Zakora. Not rhyming, but haikuing.
Forever!
Aww.
Wow, you're cracking great.
Thanks! Oh no! What if I get a cutie mark in it?
Then you'll be
Oh,
stuck
no.
doing it forever. Blank Flanks, no more potential cutie mark activities.
So, do nothing then. Like, absolutely nothing at all. At least you switched to yellow paint from red.
Bust. No, it isn't. It's a swell idea. We just can't seem to talk any sense into that Rumble.
Speaking of Rumble.
Maybe we can't, but I bet I know some pony who can.
Thunderlane?
Let me get this straight. My little brother upended your entire camp? How in Equestria did he
Yep.
do that?
Well,
Very carefully.
it started when he couldn't toss a horseshoe or paddle a kayak or shoot an arrow or use a pencil, and we felt bad that he wasn't good at anything, but now he doesn't want a cutie mark at all because he's afraid he got stuck doing something he doesn't like forever, you know?
No, I don't. Rumble's good at all that stuff.
Well, that doesn't make a lick
Uh-huh.
of sense. Unless
He didn't even try.
he was being bad at stuff on purpose.
Yes, thank
I
you.
was afraid of this.
Afraid of what?
Ever since I became a Wonderbolt, Rumble's either watching me or trying to fly like me. He won't do anything else. That's why I thought your camp was such a good idea.
I don't understand. If Rumble wants to be a Wonderbolt someday, what's wrong with that?
Not a thing. But right now, he isn't even giving anything else a chance.
Sounds to me like Rumble isn't afraid of being put in a box at all. It doesn't? Nope. I think Rumble's already picked out a box. He's afraid to get a cutie mark that'll keep him from it.
Yeah, exactly. I was wanting to say something like that. I didn't want to talk over the dialogue, but she said it for me.
I don't know how to say this, Rumble, but Blank Flank Forever Camp is kinda...
Boring.
If we want to stay Blank Flanks, we can't risk doing stuff.
What if I get a cutie mark and being bored?
What would that look like? A sloth? And the Exodus returns.
Cutie Mark Crusaders are pleased to announce today's special guest, Thunderlane!
Hey.
Hey, everybody, it's me.
Uh-oh.
Any pony who's interested, gather round for a day of camp activities with a genuine Wonderbolt.
Sorry, Rumble, but cutie mark or not, I'm not missing out on this.
Oh. Come on, Pip. So we've got opposing. There you go. Aww. Yep, there she goes. Come on, Pip. Yes, yes. For some reason, I really. Twilight's Castle. I really want to see Pip get his cutie mark for some reason.
Last activity of the day, a Wonderbolt obstacle course, just like the one they'll fly through in their upcoming show, but on the ground since not every pony has wings.
Oh, that's gonna be hard to turn down there, Rumble. Oh, yes. It's pretty hard to resist.
Thunderlane, aren't you gonna run the course?
Nope. I know I'm a Wonderbolt, and my cutie mark is all about moving fast, but I really like to cook.
Since when?
Well, we take turns making the meals at Wonderbolt HQ.
Yes.
I didn't want to at first, but now I love it. I just wish I tried it sooner.
You do?
Of course. There's more to me than just flying, and I bet there's more to you, too.
Yes. Oh, this lesson is so deep. Oh.
Obstacles are fun. Running free
You got a
through
little
mud and dirt
mud there.
beats circle painting. That haiku pretty well sums it up.
Oh boy.
Looks like Thunderlane was right about the obstacle course getting Rumble to come back over. Hey, Rumble, aren't you gonna do our Wonderbolt course?
I'm cooking today. Maybe I'll do the course
Is he gonna get a
tomorrow.
cookie mark? A cutie mark in
You're
cooking?
coming back tomorrow?
Cooking mark.
You're not worried about getting your cutie mark?
Nah, I already know I'm a good flyer. It kind of runs in the family. I guess it's time to see what other stuff I can do.
Attaboy. Oh, no more cutie marks. Oh, darn it. That's fine. Don't want to rush it, you know? Blank flanks forever, so. Oh. Wow. This reminds me of so many things like back in grade school and whatnot. Yeah, I'm not going to ramble here. I am just going to cut right away. I will be back for you guys shortly with my thoughts on this. Stay tuned. Okay, everyone. Great episode. I'm sure it'll be a very controversial episode for some. I think, once again, we have a character voiced by Vincent Tong that a lot of people are probably going to hate, unfortunately. I don't know why he keeps getting those characters. He seems to be really good at doing those characters, which I think is why he keeps getting those roles. But I think he performed that character very well, though. It was a very realistic performance, and I like the character personally. I don't necessarily like everything he did, but I understand why he acted the way that he did, largely, and I hope I can, as I talk through this, I can help you understand where I'm coming from on that. And just before I get into this here, I do want to just note that I apologize for how long it's taken me to get this particular reaction uploaded. I just had a lot of crazy things happen this last weekend. It's a lot of errands and family visiting and some personal stuff otherwise, and it just, that stuff took priority over this. So I do apologize, but I thank you for your patience, and here we are. So let's get into this. Rumble was kind of a jerk. I will say that, but for good reason too. For the most part. And, you know, it started out angry away at the beginning at the thought of this camp. You know, didn't really understand why, of course. But then, you know, Thunderlane found out about this and decided that, you know, knowing that he was too caught up with his singular focus on flying, is like, hey, you know, you need to try other things. You need to get out and experience the world a little bit more. Forced his little brother to go to this camp. That right there kind of soured the mood right from the beginning, because when you have a little kid that doesn't want to do something, they will find every way possible to get out of doing that thing. And just to put this in context, Rumble's a little kid. I mean, he's probably somewhere in the range of like 7 to 9 years old. So, you know, there's a lack of emotional maturity there and life experience that you have to factor into the things that he was doing and the way that he was acting. You know, he did not want to be there in any way, shape, or form. So, of course, he was just very, you know, apathetic about the activities. Like, I don't want anything to do with this. So I'm going to put the most minimal, the least amount of effort into this as possible, and just, you know, get through this, slide by, and then I'm out of here. You know, I thought it'd just be a one-day thing, and boom, you know, out of there onto something else. And yeah, I said, just looking at this with little kids, just for some examples, if you're trying to put a kid to bed, you know, they'll come up with every excuse in the book of, you know, why I don't want to go to bed. Oh, I need a glass of water. I need my stuffed animals. I need something, this and that, whatever. Don't want to go to bed. Or if you're trying to get them to try new foods, that's a little bit better comparison. Like, no, that's icky. I don't like it. And then, you know, finally force them to try one bite, and I love seeing that. It's like all of a sudden you get this sheepish little look on their face, like, oh, can I have some more? I actually like that. You know, and they don't always like it. It goes back and forth, but, you know, you need them to try those things and try those experiences, because they never know what they might be missing. And as I said, that's, you know, a very understandable scenario here for the way that he was acting in all of this. When he was forced to go back on the second day, like, oh, great. So now I wasn't able to get out of this. Now I've got to deal with this again. And he's scared to death at this point of actually getting a cutie mark in something that he doesn't want. So he's changing tactics and coming up with trying to come up with a way to avoid doing all this, to thoroughly avoid doing all this stuff in order to not take that risk. And he does so by kind of getting on a soapbox and convincing everyone else that, hey, this really isn't in your best interests either. And I don't know that it wasn't necessarily an entirely selfish act either. I mean, I really get the feeling that based on his incomplete or inaccurate information that he had on the topic of cutie marks, he thought that they worked a certain way, and that's the way it was, and he didn't want to risk getting something into a situation that he didn't like. So he really thought that his way was the best way. It's like, hey, you shouldn't go with the status quo because it's just going to make your life miserable. And so I think he was kind of genuinely concerned for the well-being of the other foals. I mean, looking at it, now this is the one thing that I really have a problem with him, the way he put down Kettle Corn. That was a line that really shouldn't have been crossed. He really made her feel bad for getting her cutie mark. So that's really the only thing where I feel like he went too far in this and maybe should have apologized for at some point. I do think that just the way the episode progressed, that kind of would have distracted a bit from the main point of the episode. So I understand why, it didn't happen, and I'm willing to kind of give it a pass on that. I'm just glad that they didn't have anyone actually holding a grudge against him for any of this stuff. But, again, he's basically would look like he was pushed into a corner, trying to be forced to do something that he didn't want to do. And, when you get backed into a corner on something and feel like you have no options, you're at some point or another going to come out swinging. You're going to lash out at somebody some way, somehow. And I think that's what he was doing. It was an emotional lash out when he felt like he didn't have any other choice. So I'm not saying it's an excuse. I'm saying it's an understandable situation that is a reflection of what does happen in real life. So anyway, and just looking at the situation from a high level, I really feel like this is actually along a similar vein as the problem with Diamond Tiara back in Crusaders of the Lost Mark. There, Diamond Tiara had reached a point where things were kind of falling apart on her. She thought she knew what her purpose was or what her talent was, but then things were kind of falling apart on her. She lost the election. Her best friend left her, and she was just, and her mom chewed her out. I mean, she had like no friends left in the world, and she was basically at the point she was having an identity crisis, and wondering, did I get my mark too early? Did I get locked into something that really isn't who I truly am or what I'm good at? And she was jealous of the CMCs for actually still not having their cutie marks and getting to try all these different things to truly find out who they were. I think Rumble basically was foreseeing a scenario similar to that and doing his best to avoid ever having to go down that path. So it does make sense from that perspective. But the point that you're missing in all this, or that he was missing in all this, is that, as I've said before, cutie marks are a passive representation of what makes you special. You don't define them. They don't define you. You define them. So he just had things backwards. He is so scared to death of getting a cutie mark in something that he didn't think he would like, and that then not only would he be stuck doing something he didn't like, but he wouldn't have time for the thing that he did like anymore. Both very incorrect assessments of how cutie marks actually work. But again, because of misinformation, or is him not willing to listen to reason, he just got stuck on this one thought process. He was just fixated on this and wouldn't allow himself to see any other way out of this. And it was also very similar to the fears that CMCs themselves have had in the past, which it kind of made me a little frustrated that they didn't pick up on this earlier and were able to relay some of those lessons they themselves learned. But I mean, going back to Bloom and Gloom, Apple Bloom was just worried to death about what her cutie mark would be like and what it would mean for her life. She was scared to death of getting something that she didn't like or understand, or could be something that others would make fun of her for, and so on and so forth. All these worries about what kind of impact it would have on her life. And it literally led to nightmares. But then when Luna came to assist in the dream world, once Apple Bloom admitted her fears to Luna, Luna said that's worrying about your cutie mark. It's the same as worrying about who you are. That's all a cutie mark is. If you cannot accept who you are, your life might seem like a bad dream. And that seems so relevant to this, because I think that's exactly what the situation was for Rumble. He was so scared of getting a cutie mark that he didn't think would be appropriate for himself and would send his life down some path that he was just going to hate, that it would have seemed like a horrible dream or even nightmare to him to deal with something like that. But that just again, there were so many misconceptions and assumptions that he was basing this off of, and he just wouldn't listen to the CMCs on this. And ironically, he was actually wanting to avoid being put into a box. He kept arguing that, don't lock yourself into a box, but he wanted to not get put in a box by putting himself in a different box. So it's kind of, self-defeating mentality or something there. It just, again, kids' logic doesn't necessarily always add up. It's just, this is the goal that I want to do, and I want to make sure that that's how I get to. So however I need to justify it, that's what I want to happen. And really, I don't think these fears are necessarily an irrational thing either. I mean, this is where I got to take a step back from the episode and look at this in the context of real life. Kids get put under so much pressure to figure out what they want to do with their lives. I mean, as really young kids, they get asked by parents, other family members, teachers, whoever is like, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do? And where do you see yourself 5 years from now? Is, you know, stupid questions like that. I mean, that's more older years, but there's all this stuff that, you know, everybody wants to know what you want to be or do when you grow up. And I mean, those aren't necessarily horrible questions to answer. They are, or questions to ask. They are questions that need to be asked. But I think there's a lot of undue pressure put on the kids sometime to answer those. And I mean, as little kids, that the answers to that question can change on a daily basis. You know, it's like, oh, what do you want to be? Oh, I want to be a policeman, or I want to be an astronaut. I want to be this. I want to be that. You know, just whatever's going on in their lives can greatly affect that. But they don't have the overall big picture of the world yet. They're too young to see, you know, and fully grasp the world around them and figure out what they're truly interested in and passionate about to be able to make a conscious decision of, this is really what I want to be. And there's always exceptions to that. Again, everybody's different. Some people know from a very, very young age what they are good at and what they want to do with their lives. Some people, it takes a very, very long time for them to figure that out. And, you know, in addition to questions like that, you've got career aptitude tests that can mess people up sometimes. I don't know that those are always... I'm sure there's some benefit to them, but I know there's others that they get locked into this, like, well, this says that this is the only thing I'm going to be good at, so I guess that's what I have to do with the rest of my life. No, it's maybe a guideline, so it's a suggestion that you might be good at this stuff, but that doesn't mean there aren't other things that you're good at that their computer algorithm didn't account for. There are so many variables, it's impossible to predict what a person is good at in life or would enjoy in life. And then even just from a social angle, as you go up through high school and especially into college, if you don't really have some sort of an idea of what you want to do, or, you know, a career path to go down and stuff, there, you know, you start to get kind of, you know, sneered at and made fun of and whatever. It's like, oh, you still don't know what you want to do. And yeah, so some people need a push to, you know, get out and actually figure out, engage in life and figure out what they want to do. There's that side of it too. But some people just, they need more time to really figure things out. It's not always an obvious thing for everyone out there. And I can understand them not wanting to be pushed in a corner. I mean, if you're going to put all the time and money and energy and everything into getting a college degree on something, you know, you shouldn't necessarily be doing that and not knowing if that's something that you really want to do or not, because otherwise you're just wasting time and money and stuff. So, and some people, you know, do that just to try and figure that. They do it willingly to try and figure out if this is something that I want to do. Again, there's so many different situations out there. I can't possibly cover every scenario here. But the point is, there's a lot of people that get really pushed into making those kinds of decisions before they're necessarily ready to do so. And that can have negative consequences. And I think that's basically where Rumble felt like he was at with this. It's like he was being forced to go, like, oh, go to this day camp and you got to try this. These are the activities. And it's like, well, hey, you know, you should get your cutie mark in one of these things. You know, it seemed like he was being rushed into it. And I don't believe for a second that was the intention. The intention was simply to provide opportunities to try things to see if it's something that you like or not. But he took it as he was being rushed into a decision, and most likely a decision that he wouldn't have been okay with because he didn't enjoy those activities. They didn't look like something that he liked doing. So, certainly not something that he would want to make a life goal out of. But, yeah, unfortunately he took that pushback. Yeah, so it may be good that he was pushing back on that a little bit, but he kind of took that to the extreme, and obviously that led to some unnecessary confrontations in this episode. I said ultimately he's just really missing out on the big point here. He wasn't allowing himself to see that there's more to life than just this one thing. Again, he was arguing that you shouldn't get them locked into this one thing, but he was wanting to lock himself into this one thing. He couldn't see that there was any other options out there. But looking at other examples, I mean, just because, well, first of all, whatever you get your cutie mark in, again, you define it. So it should be something that is applicable to you, something that you should love to do. It's He's arguing that Apple Bloom, well, see, you don't do the potions anymore because you're spending all your time on this, because that's what your mark is. I don't think that's a fair assessment. It's not that Apple Bloom is being forced to do this stuff because she's got this cutie mark. She wants to do this stuff because this is what she is passionate about. And yeah, she has some side interests, some hobbies, like the potion stuff, but that takes a secondary role to things that she's more passionate about. So, he wasn't even allowing himself to see that even if he did get a cutie mark in flying, that he could still do other things. He was missing that. And, all I got to do is look at others in this world to see that is definitely not an accurate thing to say that you're stuck in this one thing. Just look at all the main 6. You've got Rainbow Dash, who loves reading. You've got, Pinkie Pie, who's, kind of matured to where she's a good babysitter and even a diplomat to the axe. Never would have guessed that. Applejack enjoys days at the spa. Wouldn't have guessed that for her character a few seasons ago. Rarity sings with the Ponytones. Fluttershy is good at buckball. And heck, Twilight has even turned out to be a good cook. Is cooking with Spike here just a few episodes ago. So, all of these characters are, multi-dimensional characters. They have other interests, other things that they enjoy doing that don't directly pertain to whatever their special talent, their life goal is. And that's good. That's a healthy thing. I mean, if you're doing what you're passionate about, that's a great thing. But most of the time, it's not really healthy to just do one thing and only one thing for the rest of your life. They say variety is the spice of life. You need to allow yourself to have other interests and hobbies. I have multiple interests outside of work and pony stuff. I'm not just, a guy who likes pony stuff. I like classic muscle cars, and I like trains, transportation stuff. I have interests in that. There's just a lot of things that I enjoy exploring and checking out. And it's not something, those things aren't necessarily things I devote a huge amount of time to, but I just like to get out and do something different once in a while, so that's a really healthy thing to do. And Thunderlane himself, along the cooking lines, he found that he actually likes to cook. He didn't think he would like it, and then he was forced to by being a member of the Wonderbolts, and found that he actually really enjoys it. And, fortunately, he was able to have that little chat with Rumble there and kind of open his eyes to the fact that there is more to a pony than just what your cutie mark says you're good at. And that should be true of everyone, not just, one person. So, just the CMCs were not able to get through to him. This is actually kind of an interesting thing. The CMCs didn't really fix this, per se. I mean, they basically... Well, just to touch on that a bit... CMCs, I feel like, were actually a little bit at fault in this episode by getting rather emotional over Rumble's attitude. Sweetie Belle's sitting there yelling, cutie marks make you special. And I'm like, no, they don't. You should know this. You are special. The cutie mark is just a representation of that. And all I have to do is go back and look at the situation with Gabby to be reminded of that. Gabby couldn't even get a cutie mark because she's not a pony. That doesn't at all mean that she wasn't special and shouldn't have a special purpose in life. So I think it's their own experiences with trying to get cutie marks, trying for so long, and then finally getting it and doing their best to help others get it. And most everybody wants to get one at some point or another. It's, they're kind of emotionally biased and tied into that ideology. They had never before come across somebody who thought it was bad to get a cutie mark, and just was, firmly rejecting that idea. They didn't know how to process that, and as a result, they ended up with a conflict of, a difference of ideologies for which there was really no resolution. And I think later on they realized that it's... I don't think they were ultimately wanting him as like, oh, you need to get a mark because, you have to get a mark because the mark is special and that's the only... Everybody has to get a mark. I don't think they were that shallow. I mean, it was the emotional outburst, the heat of the moment. But I think really, they recognize that the mark is just showing what you are that makes you special. and they wanted him to be able to see that and not be sitting there denying himself, you know, the chance to find out who he really is. And they also realized that there was really nothing much more they could do or say at that point to convince him otherwise, because he had already had his mind made up that he was right, they were wrong, and that's just the way it was going to be. You couldn't convince him otherwise. So they realized they needed some outside help to come in and help them see the light. So I applaud the fact that they had the wisdom to bring in Thunderlane for some assistance on this. So, you know, they indirectly helped resolve the situation, but wasn't a direct thing. But yeah, fortunately, Rumble did finally see the light on this and backed off of his attitude. And, you know, again, it would have been nice to, you know, maybe see some resolution of his interaction with, you know, causing all the trouble and stuff. But again, I don't really think that was the point of the episode, and I'm willing to let it slide on this, you know. That's not what was really important at this point. So I feel like I left something out in this somewhere, but yeah, just like I said, so many parallels between the situation that he was in and, you know, the emotions that he must have been feeling or whatever. I mean, this is real life stuff. A lot of people deal with this type of thing. So it's really interesting to finally see kind of the other angle on this. We've seen so many times where everybody wants to understand, you know, get their mark, or is struggling to understand their mark. We hadn't really had it where anybody just is rejecting, like, I don't even need this to make me special. So I'm glad they finally kind of covered that angle of it. And I think that helped. You know, there was a lesson there for the CMCs as well. Like they got to experience a different viewpoint they hadn't considered before, and, you know, going forward they can hopefully learn from this and be able to better help others to, you know, take the right approach on explaining, you know, what a cutie mark really is and how it benefits you, instead of just trying to say, you know, here, get your mark. It's like, here's why you should want to find a mark, you know. Anyway, I'm doing a horrible job of explaining all this stuff, but there it is. Just one last thing I wanted to get to here. With Kettle Corn and the circles, I was really confused about what this was all about. But then I did have a buddy of mine link me here to an article on Equestria Daily as a recap of this episode, written up by We Are Borg, and he did the research to figure out what this was actually in reference to, and it was rather eye-opening. It actually was directly related to this cutie mark that I do have to say, I felt like the cutie mark and haiku thing felt a little shallow. Like, okay, so you're good at haiku. That doesn't really seem like an applicable talent to use in life. Like, what do you do with that? But then I had to kick myself later because, like, whoa, wait a minute. I mean, there's a lot of, you know, very well-known and famous people in the world of literary arts that have contributed greatly with literature in the form of poetry and stuff. You know, a lot of deep thinkers and philosophers and stuff that do poetry. So, like, that's a legitimate thing. Oh, okay. And even the cutie mark itself, it doesn't necessarily have to be just haiku. I mean, it's a feather pen with some scribbles, it looked like. So, I mean, that could be any form of you know, literary arts. So that makes sense. But the circles actually are related to the haiku thing, and I had no idea about that. Well, basically, there's just to kind of paraphrase it, I'll put the link to this article in the video description so you can go read it yourself. But there's something called a haiga. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, but haiga, which is a combination of haiku and a simple painting related to the poem's subject. So, you know, it starts as like a doodle thing and grows from there. But combining that with a form of Japanese calligraphy, you know, it uses the same tools as that. And there's this one symbol. It's a circle symbol known as the Enzo symbol, and it symbolizes, and just quoting from the page here, it symbolizes elegance, strength, enlightenment, the universe, and the void. Basically, when the painting of the Enzo, when closed, represents perfection, while unclosed, as in Kettle Corn's case, represents imperfection. The practice of drawing the Enzo for self-realization is called a Hitsuzendo, or the way of the brush, as established as a Zen practice to find one's true self through calligraphy. So is it that, Kettle Corn and the rest of the Fools are trying to they're trying to find themselves. And it was actually rather interesting when I went back through after having read that and was thinking about that, then going back and looking at the episode again. To begin with, all the circles that Kettle Corn was drawing were incomplete. They were broken circles. The lines, it wasn't a complete circle end to end. That doesn't even make sense, but whatever. It wasn't a complete circle. And but then after she got her cutie mark, she was in the cabin and drawing on another circle on the table with the jam, and that looked like a complete circle. It certainly looked like it to me. You can go look at it yourself, but that looked like a complete circle to me. And it made sense because she had gotten her cutie mark. She had found herself, and the circle changed to represent that. Then later, after the song where she had decided, I want to go back to being a blank flank because I don't want to lock myself into something that I might not like, and she covered up her cutie mark, and then afterwards she was painting another circle, and it was in yellow for some reason this time, and that circle was back to being a broken one again to represent that she was considering herself still incomplete. So it's just a fascinating little bit of historical culture on this, for one thing, but also that they were tied that symbolism so closely into the episode. What was occurring was just fantastic. So just awesome. I mean, it's kind of just a little bit of trivia type stuff there for you, but it's an interesting thing to see about it. I love that the writers and animators especially are taking the time to actually get that deep level of stuff into these episodes. So, but yeah, I think that's basically it. I need to wrap this up as it's been another really long commentary here. Hopefully you got something out of this with me here. Hopefully you understand the lesson a little bit better and how this relates to our real lives and stuff. So we're all different. We all move at our own pace, and some of us need a little bit more time. That's okay. So, but some of us also need a little nudge to push us to get out and try things that we're afraid of. There's that side too. It's kind of like multiple different angles on this lesson, and Rumble was getting a little bit of all of it. So it's a complicated situation. So, I don't excuse necessarily his behavior in this, but it is understandable why he was acting the way he was, given his age and the situation that he was being pushed into. So there you have it, and I need to stop rambling. So thanks for watching, everyone, and I look forward to another great episode next week. Later.